Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Agent Boost podcast. We're excited to have our guest, probably a little bit overdue, but having the one and only Nicko Pickard.
Here I am.
So Nico is kind of hard to define this guy for what he does with us, but he's a master of all things technical, a project manager, technical director, and pretty much helps with all things technology on the back end of Agent Boost. So
IT, it's... All right, so let's start. How many years? It's kind of a blur for me. How many years have you been with the company now, Nico?
Yeah, I've been here I'm going on my 7th year now.
Dang. Okay.
So, yeah, I've been with Agent Boost for 6 years now.
Initially on this podcast,
Kind of
Nico, like the Joe Rogan format, Nico was going to be our Jamie. He was going to be
Nico, can you pull that up?
Yeah, he was going to be the guy. Yeah, Nico, can you pull that up for us? And
he could.
And he still could. And maybe we'll get to that because Nico's that guy. He's the guy that knows everything and does everything.
Yeah. We'll get the production level up.
On the side, don't you use mixers every way and like do some music production? Everything
Oh
else?
yeah,
That's
music production, big thing that I do. Sent a couple of you guys the latest track that I made, but little beside the point. Little bit of an artist. Did that for many years.
Man of many skills and many hats. You go look at Nico's computer and he's got his Ableton up, his crypto charts, his CRM backend, some coding, and he has 17 different size screens all up everywhere. He's that guy.
Very multifaceted for sure, I would say.
Don't you have like 2 screens, vertical, 1 horizontal? Or
no, I used to have that, and I just have them all landscape so I can see it all on my peripherals. So.
Yeah, before we get going too much, Nico is a key team member with Agent Boost, one of the originals, one of the founding members, and we'll kind of talk his story, but he's one of those guys where we're so lucky and blessed to have, and whenever we think of like our competitive advantages over some of the other people in the industry, it's like, well, we have a Nico, and you guys probably don't.
Yeah, so, good way of putting it.
I appreciate that. And the funny part is, I'm going to share this because we had a staffing company stop by yesterday, which they always do because we're scaling up, we're hiring. Like staffing companies see our ads online for positions, and of course they're like, hey, let me find and source that talent for you, right? So they popped in yesterday, and that's actually where we found you, from a staffing company back 7 years ago, yeah?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I kind of got started in insurance and Medicare in general about a year before Agent Boost. I don't know if you guys know this. I was with a company called OpenText.
Yeah.
And we were coding the changes to the annual notice of changes document.
Yep. Yeah, we remember
evidence of coverage for United Healthcare.
Right.
Then once that contract was completed, I got with Prince Perelson, guys got to eat. And then they put me here at Agent Boost. Never looked back since.
Yep. So isn't that ironic? That's literally what you were coding before you got placed over here with us.
That was my first introduction to PPOs, HMOs, and like plan types and all of that.
And you were probably thinking, man, this is something super boring to code, is like an ANOC of a Medicare guideline.
Call letter.
Yeah, you know what?
Whatever works.
Answer
work
the
is
call
work.
to that for sure. Yeah.
And now that was what got you excited into the exciting world of Medicare and health insurance, and you never looked back.
Yeah.
So I would say too, for people, I think you do. For us, at least I think you actually do 20 or 30 different things, but there's 3 core things that you do for us here at Agent Boost. The first is the IT and the security, right?
For sure.
And then also you support our Rocket CRM and Sunfire. And those are the 3, I would say, key, like critical components to it.
Mm-hmm.
Which do we want to start with? The easy one, get out of the way, like hex nodes and IT security and all that kind of crap?
Is that easy? I don't know. I might tune out mentally while we talk about that for a second. But no, we'll gloss that over.
I bring it up. It's important because of just the industry and compliance and how it all works. But for people listening, we have like another office in Florida, for example, and we needed to find like a solution to where we could literally manage everything on that device remotely, everything from the mouse clicks that they're doing and different, making sure that security measures. And so we have different platforms that we're using to MDM stuff, right?
Yeah.
Device management.
As far as just, whitelisting and blacklisting domains, being able to remote into a computer, managing an entire office from my desk here at HQ, very important. Not only that, locking down the device, USB ports, everything like that. So everything can be managed with technology, just looking for a solution.
And we did have to start blacklisting certain websites within the company too,
we've had a couple funny adventures of tracking certain sites down and stuff like that. And
I'm like the laissez-faire, like libertarian, where I'm like, let people be adults and choose. And so I'm like always erring on the side of let adults just be adults and do whatever, and then suddenly you're like, no, they make bad decisions. We have to.
They make bad decisions.
We have to lock it down a little.
Yeah, so Nico, in that capacity, helps keep our infrastructure and our IT locked down, makes sure that we're compliant. And one of the things that we've done that you've done a great job at is all of the carriers, even recently when Health Sherpa was here, they love our infrastructure as far as compliance and security and our PCI compliance and all the different acronyms in the compliance world. We always pass our carrier checks with flying colors.
Yeah, our FDR audits and making sure our data, that we're sending everything secure, that we're storing it in SOC 1, SOC 2, SOC 3 compliant. So you help us out a lot with all that.
Yeah, 100%. Year over year, we pass those tests. Yeah.
Mission critical. So you do a great job with that. But then let's talk about the two bigger things. Obviously, do you want to go CRM or Sunfire first?
Let's go Sunfire.
All right. So yeah, so Sunfire, obviously third-party tool. We've always been very transparent out there. There's other people who kind of try to white label that or spin it or rebrand it something different. But, it's a third-party platform we use, but nonetheless, we always think of it, it's a tool, and a tool is always only as good as how you can actually utilize it or leverage it, right? And so there's more that people don't understand about the tool, like on the back end as far as, populating in carriers based on RTS and states, and there's more to it. So let's talk about what it kind of looks like on the front end and using the tool, what you kind of have to do, and then even like on the back end, like reporting and things that maybe people aren't leveraging.
Right. I mean, yeah, Sunfire, everyone in the industry knows what Sunfire is. It's your e-app enrolling and quoting tool, right? There's a couple of cool integrations you can get out of the box with them. They're quite expensive, but what we've built on the back end kind of takes care of that for us. We don't have to pay that premium with Sunfire. What I'm alluding to is the RTS reports, right? So internally on the back end, it's very important that brokers can sell in a state for whatever product they're actually licensed for. We take all of those RTS reports we're getting from all of the carriers and build our own data list internally. You can pay Sunfire like 10 grand for this on the back end for them to manage it. We take care of all of that. So, taking care of those data problems. It's a data problem to solve on the back end, which we've done.
And the point being, we have agents message all the time, right? They'll call you, they'll IM you and say, Nico, how come my carrier X is not showing in state Y? I went to go run a quote, and it's like, well, you either don't have that license, that's why it's not showing, or you're not aligned with us or don't have that carrier contract with us, and that's usually why it's not populating, correct?
Exactly, because what we're doing on the back end with the data, we find that the carrier reports are right 99% of the time, right? So even with whatever we think as staff members on the back end, like, oh, they should be active, we go back and check the portal. Oh, that's why it's not on. It's not showing on the RTS report because they didn't complete certs.
Yeah.
Whatever other reason.
So we have to go, we're dependent upon data from carriers. What we don't want to do as an FMO is just activate everything because it's kind of a guardrail system where it prevents agents from writing carriers in states or products where they're not actually certified or not eligible to do.
Right.
Yeah, that's a big CMS, CTM thing that everybody will...
We're obviously trying to do our best to prevent that from happening for brokers. Sometimes it frustrates them, but they have to understand, like, we're actually doing this to help and protect them.
There's a lot of moving parts to it, and we really do a great job of making sure that stuff is accurate.
Yeah, so coaching point is if you're a Sunfire user, and it's, kind of the end of AEP today, but going in and checking your RTS report, going up on the upper right-hand side and clicking your name and your profile and looking at, that's something that we're always coaching agents on, is making sure what you think, where you think you're ready to sell actually reflects that in Sunfire, because very often you'll get panicked phone calls of people in a sales encounter and they're like, I need you to turn this on right now for me. And I'm trying to write Mrs. Fitzgerald right now. And you got to turn this on for me or it's not happening, and that could have all been avoided if you would have just been proactive about making sure that matches up.
That, and part of it too, so people understand, is we'll do a Nipper bump, like right with Nipper, where we're pulling those states, but let's say we run it weekly or bi-weekly, that cadence. If somebody just got their Arkansas license the day before, and this has happened, and I bring it up, it's like, my Arkansas license just became active yesterday. How come it's not showing? Well, we have to wait. There's somewhat of a lag time for us to do that bump against Nipper and have it show active before it turns on. It's not just like instantaneous.
I'm just laughing because 1 hour ago we had a similar conversation about an agent that was like, I need you to turn this on right now to write this. It's the last day of AEP.
And so we have to kind of really cover our butts, CYA, to make sure that the carrier's reflecting that. And just because somebody gets a state active doesn't mean that the carrier has updated it on their end. So we can't turn it on in Sunfire until the carriers show that you're good to go and appointed in that state too.
There's a whole bunch of nuances to every carrier. They're all different. All of their data looks different. And yeah, we do our best to get that all in there.
One more thing, because I think a lot of people are familiar with Sunfire does, but one of the things that we're able to do that maybe you can speak to is we're able to analyze the quality of the enrollment data and quantify and visualize that. And that's one of the metrics that or KPIs that we use and track. So maybe you can speak to that aspect of what Sunfire can do.
Yeah, Sunfire has a really robust reporting engine on the back end. We're able to identify an agent productivity report with Sunfire. How many HRAs they completed, how well they do, and fill out the drug information for each of those clients, right?
Utilization.
We get all of that right there on the back end. So, it's an incredible tool. Has some really powerful reporting on the back end that really gives you a bird's eye view of your agents.
We know too, so just for listeners, we know the agents who are putting in PCPs for like HMO or PPO stuff, actually entering in the drugs that people are taking in the application. And again, going back to home health hospice, all the questions on the application and data points, I will just tell you, there is a very strong correlation.
I was gonna go.
Yeah, of people who are very thorough in that process and putting it in there. It actually flags and kind of rates and scores applications and says, hey, this NPN or this user, it looks like they're doing great. And then the ones that are doing basically piss poor, enrollments where they're not putting in any of that data, it flags them. And guess what? Those agents, they do have bad retention, bad rapid disenrollments, all the above.
Everything can be measured.
So we're able to take those analytics and those KPIs and we visualize them and we run a report that syncs up and basically gives us an agent scorecard of all the things that agents can do with Sunfire, because Sunfire is now more of than just a quoting and enrollment platform. It actually, you can look up their carrier data or their MBIs right there. You can pull it in. You can essentially do like a needs analysis and a pre-need up front. And the ones that utilize all those more robust features in Sunfire, like Dan said, there's a very strong correlation of the ones that have high effectuation, low rapid disenrollments, hardly any CTMs or complaints to Medicare, but the agents that don't, they just kind of use it as slam the enrollments through, and they're not using it to check doctors. They're not going a thorough med check. They have a higher complaint rate. It's just a straight numbers game.
Well, we didn't even talk about RFIs. So like we in the Medicare space, at least, it's different on ACA, they call them like DMIs, but RFIs, request for information, where there's something pended to the application. The nice thing is about Sunfire is those are batched like directly to the carrier through like a data feed. So every day they're getting those enrollments. So if there's an issue with the application, we know immediately with Sunfire. If you're using carrier tech, it's very limited or sporadic depending on the carrier if we're getting that information back from them. So if you, for example, wrote a partial dual plan, or you wrote a full dual plan and somebody was only partial dual and they don't qualify, like we'll know that very quickly in Sunfire within a day or two. And we would maybe, depending on the carrier, never know. Or it's 2 or 3 weeks later before that the app gets rejected that we find out through some of the carriers. So that's just another kind of example as to what Sunfire does for us.
Yeah, we get those RFI reports daily in the SFTP.
And we distribute those out, in that feed, which is, so RFIs are good. The reporting on the back end on agent quality. What other reports are there that we didn't maybe mention?
A lot of enrollment reports, but the agent productivity, the RFI stuff, that's really important for us.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a couple other things that Sunfire can do. I think we just actually talked about it in a prior podcast with Spencer Anderson, and he talked about, when you're using it as a comparative analysis and you're running meds, a lot of times you're surprised when you actually do the full needs analysis with the medication comparison. It makes a big difference in the cost of medications. And so the agents that are able to use Sunfire as a tool like that, I just think it's a really strong offering, especially compared to like any singular. A lot of the carriers have good enrollment tools, but having that mechanism to be able to compare them all in one ecosystem is really what makes that powerful.
Yeah, and I don't want to dig too far into the weeds with because we're actually going to have them on the podcast doing an episode in depth with Sunfire. But at least for now, you're right. I think it's robust. What are some of the things? One things I notice about Sunfire users currently, our agents, is some of them don't even set up their signature inside Sunfire on the settings, and they don't know how to use the Pearl. I mean, those are very common things that I see, at least, Are those the most common issues and things that you're seeing in Sunfire?
The signature, yes, they always skip that training, but I mean, that's really up to them. It can be bypassed and things will go through accordingly. I've seen a big change this AEP with the Pearl, with the PURL. And for those that don't know, it's a, personal URL marketplace where if they sign up the member through that URL that, you give to them, they can sign up a plan for themselves. I've seen and got a lot of questions from brokers about the PURL, right?
And why is that?
Why do you think?
Because of the dang 48-hour scope thing and all the questions about compliance and enrollments. It's like, hey, here's the link. Go essentially self-enroll yourself.
I don't want to deal with like multiple interactions and record everything and call me back and do. So here, I've got my own basically landing page set up, like my own e-commerce for all these different plans. Let me just send you my link. Here's the one that I'm thinking you should like look at. But hey, sign up for whichever one you want. And then it's just a consumer-initiated enrollment. And
1,000% more questions this year about the PURL. For brokers, I mean, I've got this question just about every week since AEP started. Someone has asked me, you cannot enroll a DSNP member through the PURL. Members and brokers actually rather seem to miss that point. It has to be initiated by the agent on the agent side. They send out a PURL. They say, hey, it's not showing any plans. It's like, well, what plan does your member expect to see? A DSNP. It's not going to show you a DSNP. You have to initiate that on your agent portal.
Yeah, because there's a different level of care there and eligibility that they want to make sure that people are going through. So we're not writing apps that need an RFI or that are the wrong, Medicaid eligibility level, things like that. So
yep, absolutely. So I think for now, it's probably enough on Sunfire, right? We've talked about some of the other systems you're supporting, Sunfire, and again, I think Nico, you're always busy. I mean, we always have agents. On average, how many people a day are hitting you up via Slack, IMs, texting, email, phone calls?
I take care of 60 Slack messages a day, probably 40 different emails, and then, different agents and agency owners, they will text me and stuff like that too. So I'm constantly inundated with stuff. But that's because, I built the systems and the things that they ask for. So I'm just the only one to know, which I'm happy to do.
It's not uncommon for you to get 50 to 100 support or inquiries a day, right?
No, that's common. Yeah.
Yeah. And for some context, I believe we were actually the third user of Sunfire. We've basically been an early adopter. We've been using that since they were a relatively unknown platform 5 or 6 years ago. So we've had a lot of experience growing with them and kind of utilizing them on the back end.
Yeah. In fact, Kevin Waldron, if you're listening to this podcast at Sunfire, it was like a year ago, even he called and he's like, hey, like you're on like a grandfathered old like pricing model from like forever ago. We got to bring your contract in line with like I don't even know how this slipped through the cracks because you guys have been on this platform for so long. So it was funny.
Yeah. Hopefully we're getting grandfathered pricing.
Yeah. I hope so.
Yeah. Yeah.
But anyways, but we like their products so far. Yeah, we do pay a lot for it, but we see the value in the tool. And I would, again, like while we're talking about it for brokers, use the platform, man. I mean, if we're spending this kind of money to make your life easier, to give quoting and enrollment all into one place. The other thing about Sunfire is, of course, you can put in your customers' like profiles, their meds and docs and everything, and then when they call you and you need to service them, it's there, and you can just take it really quick and verify, hey, are these your 6 meds that you're taking? Yep. Are you still seeing this doctor? Yep. Great. You can service your members so much better. I mean, this technology is there to help you, and I just don't understand the brokers that are so resistant to use the technology.
Yeah, so. and we, like Dan said, we pay a tremendous amount of money to support this for our agents. I think they'd be actually shocked at the cost of it, but it's because of the value. And so we also absorb that cost for our agents. So it's a great resource, and because we feel like it's a lot of value that we're able to provide from the FMO side to our agents. And part of that is being able to have one-level direct access support to a guy like you, Nico. So
yeah,
so it's a lot. So again, that's my plug to everybody. Use the frickin' tools. They're there for a reason. Please stop being resistant. All right, so let's talk about the CRM.
Right. Yeah,
you've been playing around with that with iterations for how many years? We've been using that 4 years now.
No, longer than 5 years. So it's we have an iteration. Like we're pretty transparent. It's go high level, but it's our own version, and a lot of people in the industry use something similar. It's pretty prevalent. A couple of things that I think makes us unique is we don't charge for it. Most everybody that I know that provides that charges their agents for it, usually $97 or $99 a month, pass that cost on, and then also sometimes pass the back end cost of the usage amounts too, which again, people would be shocked to know how much the combination of those two platforms are, the upfront software cost, but then the back end utilization is, the minute usage on the calls and the text message is just very, very expensive.
Yeah, they call it SIP trunking.
Yeah.
And it's just when people don't realize, and going back to it again, I get frustrated as a business owner when I look at the marketplace and I look at what are the challenges, what is the criteria that agents need. They need call recording, they need HIPAA compliance, they need X, Y, and Z. And we go to the market and say, okay, we're going to solve this problem for you all. And then you kind of run into, people who are going like, well, I don't really like the interface as much, like, oh, okay. Or I don't really like X or Y or Z. And it's like, well, great. You can go on whatever wild goose chase you would like to try to go solve the problem, but it's out of the box and like we've already solved it for you and it's free to use, at least for our agents. So I always have a hard time understanding why people don't adopt it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
There's other brokerages out there that use Go High Level, and I have seen some of those other, people, none will be named here, but some of them will even charge for support and custom integrations.
Right.
With someone like me, my favorite part about using Rocket is having that initial phone call with agents and agency owners alike, right? Just talking to them about, what does your average sales day look like? What are the problems that you're facing? What are some of the not only mundane tasks that are eating up a lot of your time, but those really important things that you need to make sure get done and get done right. Once I understand that, I can build all of the automations for them, right? I call it like the sales automation life cycle, right? What's the life cycle of your leads from the sources you're getting them from the stages they need to go to, from you just following up? And then, not only your one clients, but how can we retarget those people next year during next annual enrollment? Automating that whole process from beginning to end for brokers. Even if you use Agency Block, as an agency owner, we can update records in your Agency Block from the CRM and vice versa. So it's a very versatile, powerful tool that I love helping agents out with.
So that's the one thing I wanted to bring up to people so they understand is that, we basically set it up to where there's like a default basically view or look within our CRM. So when an agent onboards, they get like that default, user type.
Mm-hmm.
But to your point, we don't even charge agents for this, is they can actually get in touch with you, understand how they're going to utilize it, and then you've actually gone through and made customizations, created different pipelines for them, modified it to what they want and scoped that out with them and still not charged, which, I think is incredible value. And I think that we need to, make more people aware of that value.
Yeah, one of the things that I think is critical to note there about our CRM is it's great to have a platform, and a lot of companies or FMOs will provide their agents with a out-of-the-box solution. But, I discovered the CRM 5 or 6 years ago when it was in its infancy, and I was using it personally. We expanded out to an entire agency solution. But one of the things that really makes it unique is Nico is about as good of a illustrator or user of that as possible, and we use it infinitely more complex, and we have it connected to so many different software stacks and things like that you're a very advanced user. And to that point, we've actually looked to hire administrators just to work on the CRM, and as they come in and show what they're able to do and we talk about their proficiency, we sit and go, we're, no offense, but we're better than you. You know what I mean? And
Right.
We're able to build far beyond what you're able to replicate at. We're able to customize it and talk about some of the things that agents really love that we use the CRM to do, like, that maybe somebody might not know of.
We use Go High Level far outside the extent of what it was built for, right? Not only loading in daily leads from whatever provider that the agent is buying from us daily, going through an automated campaign, moving in separate stages as that lead moves across the life cycle. But, we have a couple of forms that we built inside of there too, like the ACA authorization consent form, a consent to contact form. All this stuff can be sent out in bulk to collect more information from your clients and build trust, right? Like they are signing your form with your custom agency branding, and they feel at ease knowing that, this information is going into the system and they're going to be followed up by the person that's sending this out. And, the data all just connects. We can collect signatures, things can be sent out automatically, all of that. So,
well, I would say even going back to basics, it, number one, makes outbound phone calls, right? It now can do inbound phone calls on the platform, full omni-channel, email, text, but the full drip campaigns, and actually be able to, because you have opportunities and you have contacts and you have different types. And so we always say, like, hey, you're going to have your prospects, those people, those leads that you're working, and then you actually have your own clients. And so the whole idea is that they're a different type in the system. So you're using it to, like, a true sales funnel to market, to do drip, to automate. Like, you can set it and forget it and just say, hey, I'm going to set up a 16 touch point drip campaign using 3 channels of outbound, like an outbound call. If they don't answer, then I'm going to send them a text message. Then if they don't respond in 24 hours, I'm going to send in an email. Then if they don't, I'm going to send them another text message number 2. Then I'm going to send them an automated voice drop that I've pre-recorded with an MP4. That, you know what I mean? And you can really build that out. And what we've found is in the lead, just in the industry in general, it takes like 7, 8, 9, 10 touch points before people respond. So when you have this system where all I'm doing is I call, and we always say double tap, you call, you hang up, you call again. And by the time you do that double tap, you've set your whole campaign for 16 more touch points to run over 3 weeks. And you're done. And that's it, but you're effectively working that lead, Yeah,
it's been one of the, the way that we've been able to utilize and leverage the CRM has been one of the key components to our success and growth. And the fact that we've been able to build and craft campaigns to get our agents more business. We were doing this way before it became, a prevalent thing in the industry.
Last year or two.
Yeah. And one of the things that I really like about it is, and just so everybody knows, of course, we always follow all CMS, all rules for marketing, all TCA. We don't, we have all those bases covered on the Medicare side and the ACA side, but we do a tremendous job on building campaigns that are able to replicate real human behavior. Because even the things that I've seen as the proliferation of automation and AI and campaigns, when we were first using this 4 or 5 years ago, I mean, people had no idea, especially seniors, that they were in some sort of automation funnel. And now it's almost assumed. I mean, even if it's if I get a natural outreach or a text, it's like, I almost always assume that it's a campaign or an automation, even if it's meant to be like a real authentication. But we train our agents to use it in a way still where it's going to help them get that business in a compliant way. And then the other thing that I really love about what you've been able to build and what we use it as is our campaigns post enrollment, where we're able to send out digital avatars. We're able to, do follow-up campaigns. We're able to do birthday type
work
things.
on retention and referrals, manage your book of business, do a birthday campaign, an AEP message where you can tag your book of business by like the carrier product that they're on and go, oh crap, this particular product is going to get SAR or it's going to go away. Crap, I need to go rewrite 50 or 100 people. Let me send a different campaign to just those tags or that segment of my block of business. Right?
And it's one of those things where the people, the longer they utilized it and the more they were willing to adopt it and basically use it to run their business, it's made it infinitely better at scale. When I was personally producing and I go back and I look and somebody else can follow up and see all the historical communication, everything, from the beginning of time, from the lead origin to then being a client and the notes and this, enrollment codes and all that. It's just extremely powerful and robust. And you've done a great job with that. A couple other things that I know that we've done is we're able to visualize and get real-time aggregation of sales results across a lot of our channels, especially our virtual channels, to where Dan and I both are that's how we're checking on things throughout the day. And our speed of business has really been greatly impacted with how well we're able to know who's doing what and make real-time data-driven decisions because of the reporting from it.
Yeah. Well, and there's always a difference between submitted versus enrolled, right?
Always,
and because for if there's agents listening, they know like you have a certain percentage of apps that are accreted that never go into effect. You have a certain percentage that, fall off the books, rapid disenroll within the first 90 days and whatever else. But to kind of speak to that, we don't know if someone's not using the CRM and they're not leveraging it at all, let's just say AEP, for example. Well, agent commissions don't pay out until January for MA carriers. If you sold a policy in October we won't see a commission statement until January for it. And then by February, we might know that you sold a policy 4 months later. I mean, that's just kind of how blind we are running the business in a lot of ways, because we have to run off of commission statements. But if someone's using the CRM, yeah, it may not be 100% accurate, but we could see that somebody submitted 30 enrollments, and we can actually get more involved and see if, and then match that with Sunfire, and then go, hey, are there Sunfire enrollment codes to match up this enrollment? And is there an RFI, or did this get processed? And we have a lot more that we can do when they're using technology.
Or it creates an expectation of a policy on the front end and the back, and we're able to match that up and go, well, where are these potential policies? Like, where did they fall through in the cycle or the implementation process? So what are something else that you can think of that makes it unique? I mean, we tried to run essentially IVR routing and call features, and we've gone different rounds, but we've kind of looked for other solutions for that, and now we've kind of settled into utilizing it.
Yeah, it's
what it is.
It's a really powerful tool. And when I talk with brokers and I talk with agency owners, like, I like to put it in perspective for them. Like, why do we do all these automations, right? The whole idea is we keep you effective and efficient, right? We can automate and nurture your clients on the back end with these campaigns so that you can spend the majority of your time doing the thing that makes you money, which is selling on the phone or selling in person, whatever. That's where the retention campaigns come in. It's where all these campaigns come in, right? The whole idea is to keep you more efficient, using technology and utilizing these tools. So having someone like me around who can build that for you and understand your sales pipeline, I feel like it's been a huge value add for people.
What I kind of want to keep preaching to people is that it is somewhat of a pain, and I'm just putting it out there. If I wanted to build in like what my retention campaign is going to be, and it's, these touch points, yeah, there's going to be some time for me to make an MP4 recording and save that. There's going to be time for me to craft my text messages and make sure, like, we have approved ones that are already CMS approved, but if you want to make a new one, just send a text message. We'll file it with the carriers, make sure it's approved. So there's some time in building this out, but it's worth the investment to just buckle down, do it, scope out your prospecting touch points too, like your 10, 12, 13 different drips in your campaign and your retention, and use it. Yeah, there's time, but then you're not repeating yourself redundantly over and over and over again.
Do not repeat yourself. And That's the key phrase there, yeah.
Yeah, invest that time to do it once, and then you can go run with it. And what we find is that agents are still going to spend the time every month to go handwrite their thank you cards for retention, and they're going to go spend an hour or 2 hours every single month handwriting a thank you card, and then they're going to pay a vendor to send out like a catalog of recipes for their clients and pay the money for that. And then they're also going to, remember to send them a birthday card, and they do all these things. And I'm like, if you would just spend a few hours and build out your campaigns and use the CRM, it would be cheaper and way more efficient.
Hours and time and money spent, it's just gone. That you could be saving with these automations.
So I know that there's, a few of our competitors across the nation that have now used this and adopted it. Since, I think personally feel like we proliferated it across the industry, but
I don't know if anybody's been using it for more than 5 years.
Correct. And however, you especially are able to manage like the workflows on the back end that we're able to do, the back end API connections, the SIP trunking and management that we're able to do, the connections and the data API integrations and feeds. I feel like we're really able to maximize what that software has been able to do, and it greatly impacts our agents' lives. And like Dan's saying, the ones that have been able to adopt it and utilize it, they all love it. They all fully bought in once you start going down that path. And we've done a great job of being able to work, help people with one-off projects in cases where other people maybe not that are more of an in-the-box type solution or ecosystem don't have any access to customizations or access to different sorts of campaigns or use cases there. And so you've done I would challenge anybody else in the industry to put them up against you and your skills and how we use it. The other thing is we're now uploading and using it for our entire agent training population in platform, and we use it for a lot of agent management and communication as well. And so whether you're an agent or agency, I feel like we have our value prop of a tech stack isn't just, well, hey, I provide you this software, but it's who and how do you have managing it, and what access do I have to somebody like you to actually make it effective in my business?
Yeah.
I think on the daily too, Nico, right? You have somebody who's going, this all looks cool. How do I get my clients that are in my CSV file or Excel spreadsheet that's super messy? How do I get all this into there, right?
Send me an email. Let me do it for you. Let me load that in there and let's get it into a campaign, right? I call it like, these conversations I have with agency owners that get on board, I call it like the aha moment, right? Talk to them about their problems, and then I provide these solutions, and it clicks with them, and they get it, and they realize, whoa, having someone like Nico having access to these tools, this is a huge value add for my business. And that's the really fulfilling part about having those conversations with agency owners and brokers.
Yeah, and I would just say, like, we take flat sheets of data, turn that into an actual CRM where every single customer is built onto a nice visualized card for them where they can see everything, they can drag them and tag them, different pipelines, and now suddenly like I can run like one quick query based on a tag or something else and just see it all. I'm not sifting through some flat sheet of data trying to look at those information piece, or I'm like applying filters and trying to, figure it out that way. It's just so much more convenient for people.
So many brokers, they use a CSV or an Excel spreadsheet, right? This is a visualization of that.
An Airtable.
Literally an Airtable. And I've worked with many brokers moving them off of Airtable. I'm about to do another one next week, actually.
Yeah.
But helping them visualize their sales pipeline. They've only seen it in, columns and rows in a spreadsheet before.
The other thing that I'm going to bring up too is, we are trying to push for adoption so much on this platform because we do our own lead generation in-house. We had another episode about this, but we're also using vendors to, source leads. We have to check them, vet them for compliance. But the bigger thing is, regardless of whether we generate the lead or we buy the lead from somebody else, if somebody's using our CRM, we can literally make it to where there's all that API'd information to where the moment they submit a web form, it's in somebody's CRM pipeline within a second, sometimes 2 seconds. It's almost the minute they submit that form, the lead is already created into somebody's pipeline. Versus if somebody's not a CRM user with us and they're like, hey, I want leads. Okay, well, let's wait. We have to use whatever source and get a flat sheet of data at the end of the day. Let's download that form of 20 leads. Let's download them, save them. Let's email you those leads. And just when you go from that dissemination method, it's just not effective. We can't do that at scale.
Speed to lead is great on that.
Yeah, I mean, if you can contact a lead within seconds of them filling it out, you're going to get the sale. If we can't even download a flat sheet of data and send it to somebody for 24 to 72 hours and then try to track that and actually close the lead, it just ruins the opportunity. So it's not efficient and it's just not scalable. So that's the other reason too, is I bring up leads because I don't think I've ever had a conversation with a broker that they haven't talked about leads. And so if you're looking ahead in the industry too, and you're looking at all the new regulations coming down the pipeline, and you're looking at all the community meetings that are not effective anymore, and the direct mail that is not very effective, and you're going, how am I going to get leads? If you're not on a technology platform, you're just going to be very SOL and not going to be able to tap into that.
Yeah. And it's, we've really been able to leverage the same concepts to build our agency and recruit and communicate with our agents and things like that. So we've done a great job on that. And one more thing that I love about you is you used to came on board and were helping with like agent recruiting and like onboarding and helping agents. So what the challenges that agents are facing in this exact industry. And you've also went and got your insurance license to be proactive, and you passed AHIP and things like that. So a lot of times you get, no offense, but tech nerds that don't know what the actual end user is or what they're trying to do. But you have a full comprehensive understanding of, this is ultimately my consumer and the problems that we're trying to solve, and this is how we can facilitate those. So there's a deep conceptual understanding of the solutions that we're trying to build. So
yeah. I mean, I got on with Agent Boost being an appointment setter for Stan Furness, and now a good friend of mine for Medicare CU. And since then, I've not only worked in every department as we were building it up with Agent Boost, but I still touch every department at least once a day throughout the day, making sure all the wheels are greased. And I have a really good conceptual view of FMO operations from a very high level, and I'm able to see problems and provide solutions in a very quick manner. So it's been an awesome ride.
Yeah. So kudos to Nico, who started as a temp and then worked out for temp to entry level to then at some point worked in agent support and then in sales as a sales director, and now worked his way up to where he's a director in his current role with technology. It's impressive, man. You've done a great job.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's been cool to see your personal progression too, since you've worked with us, seeing you from being a young single hustler to a married man, and then now he could get a call at any moment saying his new baby's on the way.
Yeah, this would be fun to show my son in a couple of years that this was the week that he was supposed to be due. So he's any day, any moment. We could
wrap up with this, and you could have that call or text on your phone.
Yeah, absolutely.
Any minute now.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. But anyways, we're hoping that this podcast shares a little bit more insight of not just the technology platforms, but the people behind it that are running it. And again, I think you have a good skill set to kind of summarize, Nico. I think you still write some R, right? R Studio.
We don't do R anymore. A lot of Python, a lot of Lambda functions in AWS, a lot of moving of data that way and marrying it up and doing a lot of joins and stuff like that. A lot of Python, a lot of JS, and just overall a lot of configurations of talking to systems and APIs. Yeah,
but it's hard to find it's hard to go to the marketplace to say, hey, I need to find somebody that has some agency in Medicare or health insurance industry who writes JS, React, can do this, code, this computer language, who also can have soft skills and interact with people and be communicative and run this whole program. It's kind of a very niche, industry out there. So again, it's pretty hard to find somebody with those skill sets.
Yeah, I know it's been a great ride for sure. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. Any final thoughts for agents, or is there struggling with technology or things that like advice you'd have for agents?
If you have a daily problem, if you have something that you don't know if it can even be automated, let me know. I can probably provide a solution to you very quickly, and I'm happy to do so, right? So it's about having that conversation. What does your day look like? What are those things that I can do to help you be more efficient? I love learning about agents and the problems they have, so I can, put my best foot forward to solve that for them.
Should I put in my input on that and say, like, hey, if you're writing 20, 30, 50, 100 plans a year, yes, have Nico customize all your things.
Yeah.
Wait until you're at least writing business before you ask Nico to customize out all your pipelines and spend 20 hours customizing your systems before you even write an app.
Yeah, I'll check your sales report first.
Let's have you write business first.
Yeah.
Before we spend a lot of time deving out all your custom pipelines.
Yeah, I'll end with my advice too, and it's whether you're with Agent Boost or any upline or whatever tech stack you're using, be a student, right? Just be willing to learn all of these different tech stacks. We all live in a world where if you're not willing to learn some of these software programs, whether it's us and our stack that we're talking about or wherever you're with or the carriers, and you just have this idea that someone's going to teach you and hold your hand, you're not going to be very successful. And for the most part, stuff's pretty intuitive. And what will frustrate me, and I know it frustrates Nico, is when we'll give these tools to agents and there's training videos and there's access, but people are unwilling to even invest a few minutes of time to try to learn things and figure things out. And so that would be my advice is, with technology in this industry, with carrier portals, tech stacks, enrollment platforms, whatever it is you're using, be a student, be proficient, always be willing to learn those things. And then if and when you get stuck and need help, reach out to somebody.
Learn by doing.
And to add to that, really knowing Medicare or this policy or this product or whatever has become 30% of the equation, 40%. It's this being able to utilize technology has become a fairly significant portion of this role and having success. And if you're not doing it, you may continue to be successful in another 2, 3, 4 years, but I can't envision a world 5 years from now where somebody is not leveraging this technology and they're still being a really successful insurance agent out there in the business.
You will be left behind.
I don't see it. Do you guys see it at all?
Well, we always whenever somebody faxes a paper app or something, it's like a big event and like a really it's like a big funny scenario, or like, well, what the heck happened where you did a paper app?
What's that sound?
I was like, who gave out our fax number to anybody?
Yeah.
Well, that's what that big machine over there does now.
Yeah. All right. So we'll wrap it up at that. We really appreciate you, Nico.
Yeah.
And anyways, man, I'm sure you probably already have 50 messages to respond to.
It's loading up by now, but yeah, it's been a pleasure, guys. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right.
Thanks, guys.